For this tutorial I'm using Savagino modelling paste. I've coloured it with a little bit of chestnut by Sugarflare. So taking some of the paste, I'm just rolling it into a nice thin sausage. I've left it a little bit thicker at each end because that's where his feet will be modelled from. Cutting it in half, I'm then just going to feed a lolly stick into each one. These lolly sticks are 6 inches long. As I feed the stick into the paste, I'm just twisting it slightly, going slowly, just to make sure I don't distort the shape too much. Just smoothing the paste onto the stick a little bit more and getting that thinness I need because Dobby has really thin legs. So I'm starting to form the foot. So I just want to make sure that it's the right size, and then just by pushing the stick through a bit more, then I'll make sure I've got something to anchor it into the cake with. So I'm going to be using this polystyrene block today so I can stand him on as I work. So just creating a little bit more shape now into the ankles, making sure that stick is coming through enough so that the figure is supported enough when it's placed on top of the cake. Just taking away some of this excess paste from the top now, just to shorten the legs to the correct length. Shaping the legs further, I'm just pressing into the back of the leg, and that will create the back of the knee. And then just going to model the front of the knee a little bit more by pinching and pressing until I get that nice knobbly knee effect that a lovely little Dobby has. So I'm just going to shape the foot a little bit more, try and get a more realistic shape. And now just cutting in, using a mini palette knife, I'm going to make that big toe. To form his other toes, I'm just using the sharp end of the Dresden tool just to press down. Don't really need to cut it like the toe, like the big toe, but just to get the effect there, and then using the tool to create the front of the toes. Using the Dresden tool again, I'm just curling over those toes just to give it a little bit more shape. And then I'm just going to continue shaping the foot until I'm happy with the shape. Just forming the toes a little bit more using the Dresden tool. I'm going to create some nails now on his toes. So I'm using a number 6 gem piping tube, and I'm just gently pressing right into the front of each toe. So these legs are still a little bit long, so I'm just going to shorten them slightly, and that will allow me space to feed the body onto the lolly sticks. So I've taken another piece of Savagino modelling paste. I'm just starting to form the shape of the body. So the first thing I want to do is create that neck and shoulder shape at the top. I'm just checking it against the legs just to make sure it's in good proportion and it's the right kind of size. This was a little bit too long, so I'm just going to cut a little piece off. So I'm just adding some water onto the sticks. This really does allow it to start sticking firmly into the paste. You can use glue if you'd prefer. I'll close the legs slightly as I started to feed the body on. And it is looking a little bit too bulky, so I'm going to trim some of the sides down now. Just going to use my palette knife. So obviously I'm not using a sharp knife to do this, but the palette knife is strong enough to cut through the paste. So now it's on the stick and in place. I'm just going to add a bit more shape to it just to make sure it's in good proportion. Thinning out the neck a little bit more, thinning out the shoulders a bit more. So now just trimming that neck down a little bit, and I'm going to insert another stick. This stick is long enough to go through most of the body, allowing for about an inch, maybe an inch and a half above, just to anchor the head on later. Adding some final detail to the legs and feet with the dressing tool. Just want to create a little bit more definition. Add a few creases, add a few wrinkles. For Dobby's clothing, I'm using Saracino paste again. I've added some dark brown, just a small amount to achieve a light brown colour. So cutting a couple of pieces and holding up against the body just to make sure it's roughly the right size. I'm just forming creases into the paste before I put it on because this will be easier to get that creased fabric effect once it's on. And as I attach it now to the front of the body, I am just encouraging those creases, and so adding more where I need them, making sure it sticks nice and firmly, and then just pressing under the body to make sure that that's covered in that area too. I'm just repeating the same process for the back, trying to get a fairly neat join. It doesn't have to be too neat, but You just want to make sure that there's no skin exposed. Just using the Dresden tool just to press everything in place and making sure it's all joined up. Just adding a few more creases where I need them, using my finger as well, just to soften over so that it's not so harsh from the tool. So using a ball tool, I'm just hollowing out at the top of the side of the body just to form arm sockets and then pinching around the paste. So that's Dobby's body and arms now completed, and you can watch me make the arms in the second video.